Restoring an Ontario Knife Company's Short Chef Knife, Part 2, Grip Design. William Hovey Smith, 2016. I'm the author of Backyard Deer Hunting and also the owner of a new company, Hovey's Knives of China. And in this case, we're taking an old kitchen knife and completely refurbishing it. We're now at the stage of looking at this knife and deciding how far along are we going to proceed and in what manner. For these grips, the difficulty is that this is already hardened steel. But nonetheless, we have to attach scales on this that at least somewhat resemble the original and make it a functional knife again. And we have some nice rosewood scales, and they're split. What we're going to do is to go ahead on one half of these scales and drill for these front and back pins here. Then we'll actually mount and glue this other scale on there before we start cutting and grinding. That will leave a section here of a gap, the thickness of the knife blade. In that, we're going to insert a contrasting piece of material and glue and pin that once everything else is done. As is not uncommon, we have a little bit of a problem. This hole is slightly undersized for this bit. So we're going to try to take a little bit of metal out. With some drama and trauma, we did manage to get the hole drilled through the metal and started in our scale with, well, we ain't going to drill it out like that, that's for sure. Now that we have a hole in one block, then we can use it to index the other two holes. Okay, now those two holes are done. What I've done here is taken the side of the old grips, split it and planed it down. So now I have a template not only for the position of the holes, but also for the general profile of the handle. I've now ground a slave pin from this nail to index these two scales plus this original scale that was on the knife. And now we're going to drill through. Again, with the use of a series of vices and clamps, we've got things secured to the drill press. I'm going to tighten everything down and drill our hole now through actually the metal blade, using the hole in this scale as a guide. The metal froze and pulled a bit. We have our pinhole successfully sighted in our scales. And so that is done. And by happy circumstance, we happen to have a little bit of desert ironwood here of approximately the same thickness as we need to use for our spacer. And so we're going to take this and taper it a little bit so we get a more nearly exact fit, and then pin, glue, and clamp all of this together. We're just going to trim these pins off with a hacksaw. We have now faced off these pins, and now that we have these pins smoothed off, we can slide this under the bandsaw blades pretty easily. And I was cutting here I was cutting rosewood and desert ironwood, both of which are very tough. There. That did exactly what we wanted to do. And that gives us much less wood to remove here. I'm also going to freehold and trim this corner a little bit because I'm going to round this. That's enough. Start moving to this. The work in our grinding cabinet is completed. We now have brought the wood to the metal with the grinding wheel, as you can see, on both the top and the bottom. And now we'll go into the belt sander. I'm going to work our pin here more nearly round on the belt sander, and of course wearing the mask for obvious reasons. We've now largely reduced it to round. Now this material does have some wormholes in it, but that's going to be well supported by glue, so that's not really going to give us any problem. Decorative embellishments like this have got me in trouble before. It's entirely possible that things could go wrong. It's possible to knock out a big hunk on the other side here. It's possible that this is wedge shaped, that it will split this wood if I don't taper this free shaped pin correctly. It will compress a little bit, but not a tremendous amount. So we want to make sure we have this fitted to the hole and that we get a friction fit, but it's not so much as it disturbs the wood. We are learning to do things right since our previous attempt. We now have some rapid setting super glue. We're going to put a little super glue on here, screw this in there, just pushing it in by hand. That's exactly as it should be. And then let it set and proceed. Okay, that is setting as we speak. Put a drop or two on top and bottom and let that seep in, and so that is going to set that to fairly well. On this grade of knife restoration, we've gone about as far as I can go for a $150 job. Now you'll notice here that the grip is much better looking than the original, and it's also much better shaped for a smaller hand. Although you might not be able to see it very well, the grip itself has a nice little figure to it. Yeah, it does. And our desert ironwood contrasts well, and our little piece of pecan here gives it a little bit of a southern accent, so it demonstrates that this knife is different from all others. Yeah, that this is in fact had some custom work done on it. Now it will also have my cartouche stamped onto the grip, and then we will apply a coat of polyurethane finish. We're now progressing to the medium grip, and at this stage all of the structural issues have been addressed, meaning the grip is basically shaped. We will do a little final shaping with this grip, but the size, the shape has been set, and now mainly we're doing finishing. We're going to remove the heavy scratch marks from the coarse grind and do a little cosmetic work here with this and the Dremel tool around the bird's head. But yeah, we are certainly getting there. We're now ready to dip our blade in polyurethane. We've of course opened our can, which was pretty solidly stuck. Now just very carefully wipe it and immerse it in the polyurethane. All the way down. There we go. We got the very back of the blade too, which is fine. We have completed our refurbishing of our Ontario Knife Company True Edge blade here. We have made a custom grip. We have put rosewood and American ironwood and pecan wood on it. We have modified it so it better suits the potential user. And now we have coated it in polyurethane. This is a relatively impervious wood, and this will require about 3 days drying time. You can do something like this too if you have an old rusted knife in your drawer that needs refitting. Belonged to your grandma, grandpa, great-grandma, whoever. All you really need is a grinder with a wire wheel and 2 sizes of grinding stones and some hand sandpaper, a hacksaw and a vise, and you know what? You can do exactly the same work. It will take longer. But yes, you can do as good or better job as I have demonstrated here. Yeah. Now, if you want us to do it, we will be very, very happy to. What the costs are of such things is just to sharpen the blade. Yeah, $40 or $50 plus shipping usually. If we have to re-handle it, then that brings the price up to $150 because of the extra time and labor in regards to doing the handle. If we have to reheat treat the steel and regrind the blade, that adds about another $100. But most of the time that won't be necessary or desirable to do so. So you can have your ancestors' knives refurbished, made look attractive again, and use exactly the same tools that they did. This company is still in business, by the way, and blade blanks are available. If you're a whole family, for example, we can take one original knife, restore it, and in some patterns, not necessarily all, but some patterns, we may be able to make duplicate knives for other members of the family. There'll be one restored original and as many duplicates as you might wish to have, 4 or 5 or whatever. Yeah, we can do this kind of service for you and handle them to fit the individual. If we have a small-handed individual, we'll make a smaller handle like this. A larger-handed individual, then we'll leave the handles more nearly the original length. But we can do this kind of thing. But now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe, goodbye, God bless, and see you next time. In part 1, we covered the blade cleaning. Here is our logo, and here are some of the many knives that we produce at Hovey's Knives of China. Now, charges for rebuilding knives are somewhat as listed below, but it depends on your individual knife. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 575 videos, you can go to my website, www.hoveysmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.